In a snow-covered village, there lives a girl named Taidy. She's unique. She can hear the wind. In the morning, in a village surrounded by snow-capped mountains, a cool breeze blows through a small wooden hut. The little girl leans against the window, her cheek in her hand, listening to the wind filtering through the cracks in the wood like soft music. Wind whispering, "You have light in your heart. Don't let it be swallowed up by the cold of the world." Taidy, smiling faintly, "Have you come, North Wind? I've missed you." The wind swirls around the window, sunlight reflecting off snowflakes, creating sparkles around her. She laughs softly, as if talking to an unseen friend. Children were running around in the snowy field, laughter filling the air. But when they saw Taidy standing there silently, they began whispering mirthlessly. No one believed Taidy could really hear the wind. Some laughed, others secretly teased her, calling her talking to the air. "Hey, who are you talking to, Taidy? Or is the wind really your friend?" Taidy, smiling slightly, looking up at the sky. "Of course it is. He's my friend. He listens to me whenever no one else is listening." The other children laughed, but the north wind blew gently, causing snowflakes to dance around her. Taidy closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling a warmth in her chest. In the evening, the soft sunlight fell on the melting snow. Taidy sat under a pine tree, watching the snow fall as if in a dream. Even though no one believed what she heard, every time the wind blew, Taidy's heart warmed a little. It was as if the wind wasn't just blowing from the mountains, it was coming from within her own heart. Taidy, talking to the wind softly, "Thank you for always being with me." Wind responding gently, "You always listen to me, and because of that, you have light in your heart." The last rays of sunlight reflected on the snow, forming a soft rainbow. She smiled, her eyes sparkling. The cold was still there, but her heart felt strangely warm. A thick blanket of snow covered the rooftops of the village. Everything was silent, as if time had stopped. Taidy stood, looking out the window, seeing the adults digging snow out of their doors, looking exhausted. That winter came earlier than ever. The snow fell nonstop, turning the streets into a sea of ice. The food was running out, and grumbling began to replace the laughter. Taidy's mother, sighing, "The snow never stops. The rice is almost gone, my child." Taidy said softly, "North Wind, why does everyone look so sad?" The wind whispered through the window, "Because the cold of the world often makes people's hearts colder." The night in the wooden house was silent, lit only by the flickering light of a small candle. Taidy hugged her knees, listening to the wind blowing through the cracks in the wood. She wanted to help everyone, but didn't know where to start. Until the north wind whispered again, "If you want warmth to come, start with your own heart." Taidy, nodding, smiling slightly. "Then I'll start with the smallest thing I can do." She glanced at the basket of old blankets in the corner of the room, her eyes sparkling as if she had just realized something. The next morning, the snow was still falling, but the village square was lit by a small stove. Taidy handed out old blankets to her neighbors, lit a fire for Grandma, and shared the last piece of bread with a small child. She began doing small things from her heart, even though no one had asked her to. and the north wind blew gently, as if smiling. Grandma, taking the blanket from Taidy, "Thank you, my child. No matter how cold it is, you still think of others." Boy, jokingly, "What can a little child like you do?" Taidy, smiling, not responding, "If our hearts are warm, maybe the air around us will be warm too." The light from the small stove sparkled like stars on the ground, and the north wind whispered softly, "You are creating spring with your own heart." A blizzard had knocked out all the village lights, and darkness enveloped every roof, leaving only a glimmer of light from Taidy's window. That night, a cold wind had knocked out the entire village. But in one wooden house, a small candle remained unlit. Taidy softly, "It's so quiet. Every house is dark." She stared at the small candle in her trembling hand and closed her eyes tightly. Taidy praying, "May this light bring warmth to all those who are cold." The candlelight reflected in her eyes, twinkling like tiny stars in the darkness. The north wind blew through the window, and the candle in her hand trembled again. But this time, the flame didn't go out. It stretched into a soft glow that floated out into the storm. The north wind heard the girl's prayer and carried her candle out, like a beacon of hope. The north wind's voice, softly, "You have a brave heart. We'll help send this light as far as the wind can carry you." Taidy, smiling through tears, "Go, north wind. Leave your peace of mind with everyone." The candlelight broke into tiny streaks of light, drifting along the wind, over the pine trees and over the snow-covered rooftops. In the darkness, sparks began to spread throughout the village. The snow continued to fall. But now the village was no longer dark. The candles from each house began to shine through the snow, like thousands of stars on the ground. The villagers saw the light from Taidy's window and began to light their own candles, one by one, until the tiny glows combined to warm the entire village. Villager, "Look, the light from that boy's house is really shining through us." Old woman, with a warm smile, "A little hope is like a candle. Just one can light many more." Taidy, looking up at the sky, "See the north wind? Everyone's warm now." Wind, soft, "Because you lit the light from your own heart, that light will never go out." The lights from dozens of houses lined up in a gentle path, like electric wires connected by hope and compassion. The soft golden sunlight filtered through the morning snow. The village was quiet after a stormy night. On a snowy hillside, a little girl sat hugging her knees, gazing at the sky. At dawn, after a long night, the north wind returned. But this time, its voice wasn't as warm as before. It was filled with concern. "You give others a fire in their hearts, but you know your hearts are also growing cold from exhaustion." Taidy was silent for a moment, looking at her hands cracked from the cold. "I'm fine. It's just that sometimes it feels like the good I've done is lost in the snow." The wind gently ruffled her hair, the earth's breath slowly playing a lullaby. She walked to the frozen pond, her face reflected in the icy water. The snow-covered leaves fell slowly. In the silence, Taidy could hear her own thoughts, a question she had never dared to say out loud. If goodness is unseen, is it still good? A moment of silence before the wind answered. You are looking for confirmation, but have you forgotten that goodness does not need eyes? Taidy raised a hand to touch the ice surface. But if no one sees, will it still be warm? The bubbles beneath the ice began to glow faintly, like a tiny heart beating beneath the earth. The north wind blew across the pond, its whisper soft but clear. Snowflakes rose around her, forming thin strands of light that enveloped her like the arms of a friend. The wind's answer wasn't just a voice, it was a warm touch that penetrated the girl's heart. The north wind's voice. Goodness is what fills the heart. Even if no one knows it, it still exists, like the breath of the world. Taidy closes her eyes, smiling faintly. Then, I'll keep breathing, like the north wind. She stood in the snow wind blowing around her, but no longer cold. The soft light from the rising sun reflected off the snow, sparkling like a heart coming back to life. One morning, Taidy stood before a frosted mirror decorated with snowflakes. Her reflection smiled back, but her smile seemed fainter than ever. Days had passed since the night she heard the north wind's words. Her once warm heart had turned cold, like snow clinging to a clear mirror. Taidy muttering softly, "Why does my smile seem different?" She reached out to touch the ice surface. Her fingerprints emitted a faint light for a moment before it faded. In the shadow, Taidy's smile was reflected, but there was a sad glint in his eyes. Suddenly, a boy's cry came from outside. The wind was so strong that the wooden door was almost impossible to open, but Taidy didn't hesitate. In the cold, a faint cry for help rang out. Her heart was beating wildly, like a tiny flame that hadn't been extinguished. The boy's voice crying, "Help! I'm cold! I'm lost!" Taidy hurriedly putting on a cloak and grabbing a flashlight. "Wait! I'm on my way!" She opened the door, braving the storm. The snow blew so hard she could barely see. But there was only one target in her sight, the boy. In the midst of a snowstorm, Taidy finds a small boy shivering, hugging his knees. She says nothing but removes her cloak and covers him. Her hands are numb, her feet are sore, but her heart is strangely warm. A north wind blows by, no longer cold. Taidy smiles. "Don't be afraid. We'll go home together." North wind laughs softly. "That's the sound of your heart we've been waiting for." The snow around her begins to glow, as if a light is hidden within. Taidy's smile brightens again, gentle yet powerful. The first rays of sunlight slowly broke through the white snow. The village, once swallowed by the storm, began to reveal wooden roofs and warm smoke from chimneys. The village lit up again at dawn after the storm. A silver rainbow stretched across the mountaintops, like the breath of a smiling sky. Taidy, with a slight smile and a murmur, "North wind, is this our new morning?" North wind, gentle. "Yes, can you hear the sound of the world warming again?" The snow around her feet began to melt into tiny droplets of water that shimmered in the morning light. The laughter returned. Everyone in the village came out to help clear snow, cook food, and share food. No one complained, no one felt cold anymore. Warmth came not from the fire, but from shared hearts. The old woman offered Taidy soup. "Thank you, my dear. If it weren't for you, that boy wouldn't have survived." The villager, laughing softly, "Since you saved that boy, it's like our whole village has become warmer." Taidy, smiling shyly, "I just did what my heart told me." The people smiled at each other, and the bread cut in half became a symbol of shared hope. The north wind blew gently through the village. This time, it wasn't cold. It wasn't strong. It was soft, like someone else's breath. Taidy closed her eyes, letting the wind brush her cheeks. The wind's sound this time wasn't a warning or a teaching. It was a thank you. North wind, soft but clear. You see, when you do good with all your heart, your breath becomes the breath of the world. Taidy, smiling, closing her eyes, listening to the wind. Then I'll keep breathing to keep the world warm. A silver rainbow reflected in the puddle of melted snow, and there was the image of a girl smiling with the warmest heart in the world.
That night, Taidy dreamed that she had become the north wind. Her body floated gently in a sky filled with silver light. The dream was filled with thousands of lights swirling around Taidy. She saw her own hand, transparent as if it were part of the wind. Taidy, echoing in the wind, is this what the north wind sees? Another voice, warm, mysterious, yes, do you see the light of a person's heart? Around her, tiny lights floated across the sky. Some glowing brightly, others flickering as if about to go out, but still shining.
Taidy reached out and touched the faintest light. It trembled slightly before glowing again in her hand. She saw that every light was the goodness hidden in the hearts of the people. None of them had gone out, they only glowed or dimmed, according to the temperature of their hearts. Taidy, whispering, even though it's small, it still shines. Other winds, softly intertwining, you know, goodness isn't something to be seen, but something to be felt from within. All the light coalesced into a soft golden wave, enveloping her like the embrace of the sky. Taidy opened her eyes to warm sunlight streaming in through the window. The snow on the glass melted into clear water droplets. She woke up, with a heart as light as the wind. Spring was beginning, and the north wind had died down. Taidy, smiling, looking up at the sky, thank you. North wind. Last wind, soft, you are the light we've always sought. The first flowers of the season bloomed in the soft light. And the sound of the north wind slowly faded away, along with the girl's smile. A picture of a village in a valley once covered in snow. Now, it's filled with fields of vibrant flowers and a gentle, warm breeze. Children run around, laughter echoing throughout. Years later, the once coldest village has become the warmest in the valley. Everyone calls it the village of the kind wind. One child, Miss Taidy. The wind smells so good today. Taidy, with a warm smile, that's because our hearts are still warm. Under a large tree on the edge of the village, children sat in a circle, listening to Taidy speak. A cool breeze gently blew, sending flower petals fluttering around. The girl from that day had grown into a young woman who taught about light within. She taught the children that good deeds are no small matter. If done with the heart, they will always grow. Taidy, remember, good deeds are what fill the heart, even if no one sees them. Another child, will they come back to us? Taidy. Of course, because eventually, they will become light that shines upon us. The children's smiles reflected the soft sunlight. It seemed as if everyone's hearts were glowing together. The next morning, the sky above the valley was a soft golden color. The wind gently blew through Taidy's hair. She saw a warm glow spreading throughout the village. Every breath the people took was part of the good wind she believed in. The north wind's whisper, warm, gentle. Goodness brings contentment in the afterlife, and hope in the future. Taidy, muttering softly with a smile, yes. I hear you clearly, north wind. The village was filled with warm morning light. The wind's sound mixed with the children's laughter became a song of endless hope. When the heart does good, the world will be warmed too, because every breath we take is part of that light. This story tells us that goodness brings contentment in the afterlife and hope in the future.